To redefine today is the word grief. Grief is a tough one to redefine, but we can find a different definition of the word grief. Grief is associated with loss, grief is associated with sorrow, often the loss of a loved one. However, grief could be related to the loss of a job, the loss of a relationship, the loss of a life you thought you would have. What can we learn from grief? Life and loss will always go hand in hand. With grief, when we hold on to unprocessed grief, when we hesitate to walk through the grief because we're afraid of the pain, we miss out on learning how to life with joy and pain. And so that is the beautiful part of grief. Grief will always happen in our lives. And so we must still be able to find the joyful moments when we are grieving. So what can grief teach you about yourself? Is there unprocessed grief that you don't want to walk through because of fear of what it's going to feel like? Perhaps that feeling is exactly what you need to move to your next step, to know what it is that you want or don't want, perhaps. So, challenge question for you. If there's something that you have refused to grieve, and again, it doesn't have to be grieving the way that we usually default to grieving the loss of a loved one, but again, grieving the loss of a relationship, grieving the loss of a job, grieving the loss of a life you thought you would have. If you have not walked through that grief, what's keeping you? What can you learn from going through that process?